Good morning. It's Tuesday, April 21st, 2015. This is Tech Talk Today, episode 160. My name is Chris.
My name is Noah. What? I'm in studio.
Hey, Noah, it's good to have you here. How you feeling? You good?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
You're not like in the middle of that travel lull where like you've been here for a few days and the schedule's caught up with you, and the fact that we pulled like a 24-hour shift the day before last and then had to do last, like that hasn't caught up with you at all?
None of that has happened.
You're doing okay?
I'm doing all right.
Oh, very good. Very good. Well, I'm glad you are, and I'm glad you're firing all cylinders. So we have a bunch of stories to get to, but first, let's bring in our Mumble Room. Time-appropriate greetings, Mumble Room.
Good day, folks.
Hello, guys. Man, I've missed you. It's I'm glad to have you. How many people we got in there? No, I know you're not even looking, but what do you say? Like a dozen we got in there today? 5? I haven't even looked.
I would say that we have...
Noah? Hey, Noah. Could you maybe speed up a little bit?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Wow, that's
people
not bad.
in the mumble room.
Lucky 13. All right, well then, since I wasn't sure which way we'd go, but since we're on lucky number 13, let's start with a story that gives me chills, and that is your friend, your buddy, everybody knows him, Raytheon, is going to plow $1.7 billion into a new cyber venture. The defense contractor is buying control of WebSense, which will be the core of its new cyber defense operation. One of the largest defense contractors in the world is getting big into cybersecurity, an area that all of our audience pays quite a bit of attention to. Raytheon is paying the equivalent of more than 4 to 5 times WebSense's annual sales, a pricey multiple for the defense industry, but they think it's going to be big. What do you think, Noah? Is this the new arms race here? Is this like the money grab?
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, honestly, this is actually the first I've heard of it. How bad is that?
Well, this just happened. It was just announced.
Yeah.
So it's to me, when you hear companies like Raytheon getting into this, what that signals to me, the overall message there is that cybersecurity, hacking, all these things that we are hearing in the headlines now are starting to become big, big money. And this is going to become a big area for the defense industry. And one of the biggest players in that industry is now in. Not much more to say other than that, but I think it's kind of worth noting. For those of us who followed computer security, and some of us who even been involved in the computer security industry, this is sort of a major, major step. There was a time early in the computer penetration testing type work where it was not even really considered legitimate work.
Yeah.
Like you kind of had to like make the case for it. That was when I was in it. And in fact, I remember when I really first started, I kind of really had to kind of do it under the radar a little bit to find stuff to make the case that, hey, look, when I was poking around, I found these things. We should do a full audit of ourselves. And I kind of had to start really small and sort of break the concept in. And now just 5-6 years later, Raytheon's getting into the business.
Right.
And that's a big change.
Well, we don't have anything like that. We didn't have anything like that anywhere else. Like, imagine a bank saying, we're going to pay somebody to be a bank burglar and try and break into the bank. And if you can drill through the safe, that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, and so it required, a slightly different overlook.
Yeah, we'll hack ourselves. Oh, okay. Hey, didn't you just travel to Baltimore recently?
No, I haven't been to Baltimore.
Weren't you just at Baltimore? No, that was Michael Dominic that was there last weekend. You ever been to Baltimore?
I have. I hated it.
You really?
Yeah, it was horrible. I'm sorry, it was horrible.
Okay, good. Well, there's a story look, guys, it's not all going to be bad stories. We're just banging off a couple right off the top because then by the time you leave me, you'll have nothing but warm fuzzies. See, I start with the rough stuff, we get all of the bad stuff out of the way, and then I leave you feeling good. So Baltimore police have used Stingrays for phone tracking of over 25,000 times. Why is this in Tech Talk Today? Because this is a story we've been following in bits and pieces now for quite a while. The Stingray stuff is where the police set up are you listening to me? Because this is interesting. You know about this? Do you know about this?
No, I don't, but I'm listening.
Get ready for this. God, you need to watch TechSnap.
I should.
You really do.
I should.
'Cause we've been talking about this for like 6 months on TechSnap.
Now I feel left out.
All right, son, listen. A Stingray device is something that the Popo have, right? And what it acts is like a super powerful 3G, 2G antenna. In fact, it's so powerful, it knocks everybody off like the big antennas, like the regular cellular antennas. You switch over to the Popo's antenna, and they get everything. Right? And these are Stingray devices. And they do it in like shopping centers. They do it in like coffee shops. They do it in airplanes. They have like Cessnas, and they fly over with dirt boxes. They're essentially the same thing. They're called dirt boxes. They're made by Boeing. And they fly over with Cessnas, and they collect everybody. They're a mobile cell tower, and they collect everybody in that like city block or those city blocks, cell phone calls, text messages, information, IDs, everything at once. And these are all the Stingray technologies. And the FBI and the police have been going out of their way to suppress any kind of exposure to the public, so much so they're actually blowing their own cases. That way they don't have to show the evidence they have of like the drug dealers and stuff because they don't want to reveal the Stingray devices. So the fact that we now know that over 25,000 times Stingrays were used in Baltimore is blowing the doors off the information about how the police have been monitoring just regular old civilian cell phones here and there, everywhere.
Well, Chris, I'm sure that they had a warrant for each one of those.
Yeah,
each one of those.
All right, moving on. Not much more to say to that. You and I were debating the other, and this is one I'd like to get the Mumble Room's take on. So now we're going to slow down and talk about more interesting things.
Okay, pull it back.
IPv6, it's a long road apparently, and it's been a journey that is not very well traveled. And you and I were debating in the car. You think it's only a matter of time, and I say to myself, Never. We never need IP6. Maybe on the public internet, but we never need it internal. Now, I wanted to get anybody in the Mumble Room have a take on the whole IPv6 slow adoption thing, because there's an article that came out recently that kind of says it's a chicken or the egg problem. IPv6 is finished. It works, but it's not really a very simple process to roll it out. I mean, kind of, depending on how you roll it out. And making your site or service available on IPv6 only is really helpful to a small amount of people. So there's no really incentive for like service providers to turn on IPv6. So therefore, there's no real incentive for clients to do it. So here's my question to you or the Mumble Room. What is going to be the catalyst that gets us to move? And will there ever be one?
I respectfully disagree that there is not a catalyst right now. I think we are in desperate need of IPv4 addresses, right? And I iterated this to you the other day. But I think the reality is we are to the bottom. We are scraping the bottom of the barrel for IPv4 addresses. And I think that we are all shooting ourselves in the foot because we're all standing at the edge of this cliff and we're both looking at each other going, you go first. ISP, you go first. Level 3, you go first. But nobody wants to actually take that jump. And a couple have. I mean, Comcast in certain areas is supporting it and stuff. But I think by and large, most ISPs, most companies aren't. And I think really we're just doing a disservice to ourselves. There's 25,000. I think I'm right on that. 25,000 IPv6 addresses for each man, woman, and child.
Right.
For everyone on the entire planet.
Yeah, I think that is right.
Yeah.
It's something crazy like that.
So why would you not want to go to that?
There's no need to it. There's no need to. I don't Mumble Room. Anybody want to pick up from here? Any thoughts on this?
Well, if you're worried about packet sniffers, I think for a while anyway, IPv6 is a good way to avoid those old boxes that people are still using.
Yep.
Yeah. Spartacus, you had something to add?
Yes, just when you're on your consumer ISP network, typically you get one public IP address. My ISP supports IPv6 over tunneling, and they give me an entire /64 subnet, so you can have tons of public IP addresses.
Right. So
who needs that, though?
Well, let's say you wanted to control these lights. They can have their own public address.
I don't need that.
Well, you don't need it. Well, what if I want it?
No, you technically don't need it either. You could just have a port on your firewall sitting at an IPv4.
So you have a Proxmox box, and I have a SICRage box, and I want to be able to get to both of those. Now I have to enter in funny little ports after that thing, rather than just go to mysickbeardbox.com and being able to log straight in. I have to enter in I have to specify a port.
It doesn't really seem like that big of a deal to me. Because I think the complexity that you get with the IPv6 numbering scheme and all of that isn't worth it. I can remember, and I remember IPv4 addresses that I was entering into computers almost 15 years ago. Like seriously, I can remember IP 169.204.112.52. That was the DNS server. I will remember that forever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to remember the IPv6 numbers. And I realize that's sort of a weird reason, but at a certain point we have to be able to wrap our heads around the things, the technologies we are implementing. Like we have to be able to fully understand them. I am not advocating to IPv6 on the public web. Have at it, Haas.
Yeah.
I don't think inside the LAN you need it.
But don't you think I can make a similar argument and say, Chris, you know what, when I come into here, I mean, all this technology that you have wrapped around, it's very difficult for me to wrap my head around it. So I think we should just go back to shooting things on mini DV. I mean, at some point, I
don't necessarily agree, because I think it's like there is sort of a fundamental way, like humans can look at numbers. Like that's why we put dashes between phone numbers and we put dots between the IP addresses, because our brain is able to sort of process information. It's very common. This is not an unusual thing. IPv6 blows that out of the water. But it's just part of it. That's just part of it. That's one aspect of the complexity of the IPv6, but I don't see the benefit to really rolling it out widespread. And I don't think I'm alone on this. I think the reason IPv6 hasn't taken off is because nobody gives a crap about it. What's it going to do? I mean, what's the big reason? What you need to do is get folks like Apple and all of these guys that are sitting on so many addresses.
Class A blocks.
So many that they do not need. Like that 169.204.11, that school district has 169.204.112 all the way to like 169.204 to 118 or 11. I can't. They have like a huge range of addresses that are all public addresses for a school district. They have hundreds of public addresses.
So essentially, what you're saying is let's take the existing architecture and shoehorn it into to make it work for our ever rapidly expanding technology.
I'm saying what we did is we gave out blocks of IP addresses when we thought there was a period of time and see this. I remember switching over to TCP/IP. Like I remember transitioning to IP, and I remember the thought back then was there are so many of these stinking things. First come, first serve. Take as many as you want. It was exactly the way we talk about IPv6 today. Exactly the same way. And this is not that long ago. And we said there's so many. Apple, have a Class A.
Yeah.
Right. Just like we're saying now about IPv6. We said the same stuff. It's the same story being repeated over and over again. It really, truly is to me.
I feel like I have been in places now where light switches are being assigned IP addresses.
That's fine.
And I feel
but
like
that can be inside the LAN. You don't need to have that light switch on the public internet.
Yeah.
And we talk about cybersecurity, and we talk about how the government has to defend SCADA controllers and dams.
Yeah, that's
Why
true.
are these dams on the internet to begin with?
Yeah.
And how is this going to help that?
Right. Well, I mean, you can always put it. I mean, obviously, the correct approach to security would be to put it behind a firewall, right?
Yeah.
So I mean that, and I mean,
But then why not go NAT at that point?
Well, yeah. There's definitely something to that, but I guess going to IPv6 doesn't necessarily mean that people like you would have to use it. And I think this is basically the conclusion that we came to in the car.
Yeah.
Is that you wouldn't have to use it. You can continue to translate into this antiquated thing if you want to, but I feel like there's a couple different things. I feel like one, when you talk about needless complexity, we look at things like MAC addresses. Nobody complains about. Well, some people complain about MAC addresses, but really we just accept that a hardware
you don't
address.
ever memorize them.
You're right. We don't, and we accept that. When you asked me to go around and add these things in, I didn't say, Chris, this is a technology I just can't wrap my head around because I can't memorize MAC.
Jeez, man,
I just copied that out.
I don't know if it'd be do you think it would be an exaggeration? And this, I'm really trying to wrap my head around this. Do you think it would be an exaggeration to say the amount of times it has helped you to know the direct IP address of something in troubleshooting?
Yeah.
Is it maybe in the billions that it's helped you?
Quite possibly. However, you know what number is almost as close to that, if not slightly exceeding that? The amount of times I should have got on my game and set up DNS.
Yeah.
So
all right,
there's that.
I'll ding you on that too. All right. So I look at it. I think you're right. I think it's going to be exactly that, a compromise. Old codgers like me will keep IPv4 inside my little network, and I'll have an IPv6 address hanging off my cable modem, and I'll make a secondary bet. First ISP that's going to roll it out on a large scale is going to be Comcast.
Yeah. I think they already are to some degree, right?
I mean, that's going to be like the only benefit to them being a huge monopoly that crushes all innovation and forces us to have total substandard internet throughout the entire United States, leaving us behind all other countries in the world. The one advantage is we'll get IPv6.
I think what they're going to do, if you ask me, I think what they'll do is they'll convert themselves all to IPv6 inside and then start rolling out IPv6 addresses to the modems and then start saying, how many do you want? I'll give you a block of XYZ.
Yeah.
That's how I think it's actually going to hit.
Mumble Room, any closing thoughts before we move on to a Google topic?
NAT needs to die in a fire.
Oh, wow. Wow.
No.
Well, I did.
NAT has some purpose.
I had a period of my time where I was very anti-NAT. I mean, like when I first got exposed to IP, every machine we used at the school district got a public IP address. And then we had to roll out NAT after the fact. It was very hard to go. We didn't start NAT. We started all public, every printer, every device, public IPs, and then we had to roll NAT out.
That's the way the internet. Weird. That's the way the internet came. NAT was a compromise.
Yeah.
NAT was the answer to we're running out of IPs. However, I agree with you in the
network address translation. NAT.
Right. Yeah, which requires
that's what takes your 190. That's what takes your computer's local network address, your 192s, your 168, the little address your computer gets, and allows you to have lots of those on your home network or your business network, and then your ISP gives you one public address.
Right.
Yeah, and they all translate to that.
NAT is one of those things, though, that we have come to learn side benefits, I think, of. And it was kind of like a blessing in disguise.
Yeah,
because there is some inherent security in, like you said, if I don't punch a hole in the router to overload a specific port into the internal IP,
there's inherent security in having non-routable IPs.
Exactly.
That's just
right. Yeah, I guess that's more succinct.
Yeah.
But you can do a stateful firewall.
Yes.
But yes.
Yeah. it would just change the way you do it would change it.
Right.
Yeah. It'd be a big change. All right, so let's talk about Googs. I'm kind of all in these days with Google. Again, after pulling way out and really trying to de-Googlefy my life for a while, I'm now kind of living the other side of that coin, and I'm going all in. And I'm probably going to try to do this for a little while, just so that way I feel like I have a what's life with all Google services, what's life without Google services. I got to be honest. I'm telling you, life is a little bit easier with the Google services so far.
Yeah.
And one thing that's going to make it a little more comfortable for me is you can now download your Google history and keep it offline for yourself and then delete it off of Googs. This is really nice. There's definitely some, when you delete your Google history, you'll lose some some customized, some now features. But I think this is pretty neat. You get to keep this for yourself now if you want, which has recently been added. So that's kind of nice. I just wanted to let you guys know, if you're concerned about your Google search history, but you don't want to get rid of it for some reason, you can go in there. And have you ever looked at this dashboard, this interface?
No.
Have you ever looked at their location tracking stuff?
Do you trust this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think because they're a publicly traded company and because this part is so crucial to their brand, if they blew this, they would, so much trust would be lost with Google that seems like that would be so detrimental. If you lose fundamental trust in Google, then all of a sudden you're going to stop using Gmail, Docs. You might even stop using search.
Yeah, but I mean that has been the conversation for years. Is everyone says, well, Google has the power to screw a lot of people, and at the same time we look back and say, well, the first time they screw somebody, everyone will catch on and then we'll dump it. But I feel like they have little nabs at people along the way, and we just kind of...
Well, what they do is they slowly encroach. Like they make you more comfortable.
Yeah.
It's the boiling frog
right,
thing.
right.
Yeah. The reason why I think this is legit is... Okay, let me back up. What I believe this is, in terms of if this is legit, is this is probably an extraction of what they have on you, right? They probably literally have millions of data points on all of us that use Google services regularly, and then they can extract all of that into some core things. These are your searches. These are how many emails you have. This is how many conversation threads you have. This is how many contacts you have. This is where you've been in the last year. They know all of it.
Yeah.
And if you have Android, and they give that all to you in sort of this extracted sort of probably several layers up version of what they know on you. I believe that.
Sure.
I don't. So yeah. Like
That's
I don't,
fair.
I don't want to show the stream because it's very intense. But have you ever been to the location history area?
No. This is the first time I'm seeing this, actually.
All right. Oh yeah. So you know about the Google dashboard, right?
I was aware of it. I've never actually done
This
it.
might be something. This is something I recommend people that use Google from time to time, even if you're just a casual Google user. Just search your Gmail. This is really worth going to. It's google.com/dashboard. And I think you should all probably go check this out if you're logged into your Google account right now. And when you're there, you'll see here's your account information. Here's how many AdSense products I have. Here's how many analytics accounts I have. Here's how many Android devices I have, which look at that, 9 Android devices. That's ridiculous.
Wow. Now, can you take those out as you get rid of them? Or will Google get rid of them and say, Chris gave this phone to Matt or to
I don't know. I don't know. I've never tried. You want to know something? You want to know something really scary?
I have 11 Android devices, evidently.
Check this out. You know how you're a big use of voice dictation?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
oh, no.
every...
Okay, Google. Jimmy Max, Everett, Washington.
No.
That's us last night. That's you and me last night driving.
No.
Everything you've ever said in a transcript
Yikes.
is available for you to listen to, and it's really embarrassing. And what it thinks it got, it'll play that back for you too. So it'll give you what it thought the transcription was. Wow. Yeah, and like I was looking for the one that where it said "kill my wife." Let's see if I can. It doesn't let you search it, but there was one. Remember where it mistranslated to "I'm coming to kill you."
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. So here's a. Yeah, so this is so okay. So go to google.com/dashboard. So there's an example. You can look at all of your audio dictations you've done. Here's my Chrome bookmark information. So now the one I want you to kind of get down to, because make sure your head's okay with this one. There's search history. That's where you would delete your search history. Here's all my doc information. Here's my wallet. Do you use Google Wallet at all?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, there's all your Google Wallet transaction and information. So if you ever wanted to look at that.
Man.
Yeah, this is I mean, in a way, it's nice that they give you all of this, right? I mean, they're not hiding it from you.
Ignorance is bliss sometimes, you know?
Yeah, for sure. That's why I really recommend people go in there and...
Spend a lot of money on toys. I see that now. I don't like this.
All right, so then the other one you can go to is maps.google.com/location history. And now take a look. I'm not going to show this on the stream, because this will show my house and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But here's a calendar, and I can just go through the week and look. Google
wow.
will show me everywhere I went.
You're a working man. It's a straight line back and forth.
Yeah. See there, but look, there's you and I going down to SeaTac to pick up Mr. Sis last night, and then there's us going out to dinner. There's me. Look at that. So this shows you, and you can play it back in real time.
Maps.google.com/
location history. Maps.google.com/location history. And yeah, look at that. That was when you and I went out to dinner on Sunday. We went out to.
So Google probably knows then, based on this, that you and I are in cahoots at least to some degree, right?
Yeah, because it has all your stuff in there too.
I'm looking at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is literally, if you look down here at the timeline, look Noah, I can scroll through the timeline and look, it'll move through my location area minute by minute. Look at, they're tracking me down to the minute there. Look at that, Noah. Look, this bar down. Sorry, I'm not showing this to you guys, but I just don't want to show you where I live. This bar down here at the bottom indicates my movement activity level.
You can show the Nook. You can show mine because I've been in Seattle the whole time.
Okay, so let me see if I can. Oh yeah, that's a great. Well, just make sure you're not showing one where you're at my house. The studio, I don't care if you share.
Yeah, actually, never mind.
You sure? We can pull it up if there's just one.
No, it goes because I was at your house every day. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but it's fascinating. Well, you guys have shown it before, so. But anyways, there's tons of stuff to go look at. So the one is google.com/dashboard and maps.google.com/location history. The only reason I bring it up is you just need to be sure you're okay with that.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I don't think the majority of Android users have any idea.
Well, I mean, unless you live under a rock these days, you have to be aware that your location is being transmitted.
But did you think you could go there and play back minute by minute where you've been all day?
I didn't think I could. I think for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been pretty confident that law enforcement or the government could if they wanted to.
I just wonder what they do with that information. All right, speaking of Google, one more Google story before we get out of here. They're making big changes this week that's going to, they say, usher in the new era of mobile search. Google's new search algorithms taking effect this week have a chance to cause some major headaches for businesses without mobile-ready websites. So get ready for this. If your site doesn't look good on mobile, you're going to get major dings now in Google's search rankings. How's AltaSpeed looking on for mobile?
Yeah. Not so good.
Yeah.
So
Don't worry, I got it, Noah.
Yeah, there was this is coming from GeekWire.com. They ran a study of 10,000 search queries and found that 70% of sites on the first results page were identified as Google as mobile-friendly. The algorithm change signals a bigger shift by Google towards separating its mobile and desktop search results, because tomorrow's change will only affect searches run from mobile devices. But, as you probably already know, the majority of searches are mobile is becoming number one for a lot of searches, and Google's continuing to push that forward. Small businesses also that want to reach out to customers often have to have web content optimized for the multi-world screen. And it's funny because, this is something I've seen with, I don't think this is something small businesses quite expected to hit them as strong as, I think a lot of times people thought, I'm not a big business, so I don't have to worry about a mobile site.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it turns out that a lot of people, their primary computing is being done on a smartphone. And if they want to find out about a local business, they're looking you up on their smartphone.
Actually, I'm thinking about it. I think the place that we use to do our website actually automatically does a mobile site. I've never actually visited it, but the other the advantage to me, right, is that the truth is we don't get our customers from the internet. No business that's contracting with us is going IT services in Grand Forks, right? They're asking other people in that area and saying, who do you have? And then they get us as a recommendation.
I just don't like, it just feels so weird how Google's like, oh, well, so we know you've been doing your site stuff this way for your entire site's existence, but starting tomorrow, because you do your site that way, you're not going to show up very well in our searches. It's like, it hurts. Now I have to change the way my business essentially presents its front door, so that way I can show up in the phone book.
And essentially because a lot of your clientele, if not to say that people don't interact with JB on the mobile platform, but they're doing it through things like Pocket Casts, right? But anytime they're visiting the website, chances are that's being done on a desktop, and thus you want it optimized for a desktop.
Yeah. Now I don't know if they're going to be dinging desktop search results initially. I think they're only going to be dinging mobile, and that does make sense to filter it out a little better there. But even still, like, what does Google use to qualify as mobile ready? Do they qualify my site, JupiterBroadcasting.com, because it is responsive? It'll redesign itself to fit on a mobile screen, but it's also WordPress, so maybe it's not. Huh? Oh, you do know?
It's purely about the way it's laid out. So if you have, it detects on it like where the content, how far apart the content is from like the photos and things like that. So it is. So it's actually responsive is mobile.
They are actually rendering the site then, and then analyzing the spacing on your website.
Yes.
Wow, that is some serious bot work.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Their crawlers have been able to do JavaScript for quite a while, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Google's has a tool that you can actually go check yourself to see if it is going to be accepted as a mobile site or not.
So that way you don't wreck yourself when this happens. Boom, boom.
Right, so that you can go and say, okay, they'll even list out what you don't have right and how to fix it.
Great. So have you checked us out yet?
Yeah, there's some issues, but it classifies as mobile.
Woo!
You're set.
It makes perfect sense for Google to do this, though.
Yeah, I can especially see it if they don't start dinging desktop sites, right? That would be where I think things get a little weird. And honestly, I mean, it kind of is time. Like, I definitely came to this conclusion when I was working with a small business recently, and it's like, oh yeah, there's so many people on mobile now that it really is seriously. I think it's gotten to the point where it's not just like a hipster debag thing to make your site responsive. It's kind of like if you want to cater to a significant percentage of your audience, you have to make your site responsive.
So
I have talked to people. Sorry, Noah. I have talked to people who work for big services, and they say, yeah, that our user base is growing every month, but our desktop user base doesn't change.
Yeah, exactly.
All the new users that come in that are
right.
mobile, they're phones and tablets. So you kind of have to, this is something that has been going for a while. So if you want to stay significant, you have to cater to mobile users. That's just the reality of the business right now.
So I don't disagree with that, because I do a lot of stuff on my phone, but in IPv6, I'm saying let's go forward. In this, I'm going to be the old fuddy-duddy that says, you know what, I pull out my phone, when I go to a site, I'm looking for that full desktop button.
I know you are. But I think, and I don't have a lot of experience in this area, but I think there is a larger percentage of users who really just don't want to spend a lot of time sitting in front of a large screen.
Yeah.
And in fact, for some people, it's worth avoiding the large screen. In fact, for some people, it's kind of a point of pride that they don't spend a lot of time in front of a large screen. So that means I know people that don't even have a computer in their house because they just can do it on their phone now. And this is, I think, becoming more and more common. And I don't think it's all that weird, because if you can do essentially all of your contacts, all of your calendaring, all of your your messaging and your web browsing on your phone, and you already have a data plan, so you don't have to have an ISP, and you don't have a lot of expendable income.
Yeah.
That might be the majority of America.
Yeah.
I might have just summarized like the vast majority of the populace of the United States of America.
Well,
so I think it's pretty common.
Yeah, we know desktop uses is going down, mobile uses is going up.
What I'm saying is, I think people who even prefer to use a desktop is going down. People like you who are like, I just want to get people like you and me.
I completely agree.
Yeah,
I completely agree.
People like me, if I'm going to stay somewhere overnight, I pack a laptop, right? Those kinds of people.
Oh, I agree.
Minority.
Alex is the same way. I mean, he only goes off of his phone or his tablet.
Yeah.
Q5Sys in the chat room brings up a good point. He says, why not filter the search results based on the device type? We can identify.
Well, that's what they're going to do. Google will be displaying, what Google's going to do is if you search on mobile, like if you open up your phone and you do the mobile search, that's where they're going to start dropping off all non-mobile friendly sites more, and mobile friendly sites are going to bump them up.
Okay.
That's where they're going to start doing that at. Now, the undeniable consequence of that is some desktop sites will be impacted by that, because those sites are going to have to make changes to be competitive in that mobile search.
Okay.
So desktop web browsing, desktop search, desktop sites are going to have some impact, as they're going to have to sort of make their sites mobile relevant, so that way they don't get totally dinged in the mobile search.
So I guess that's what he was getting at. Keep the rankings the same, but just only display when you search from a mobile device.
Yeah.
Only show the.
Wouldn't it be nice if that was just a user-controlled setting? How about that?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
they
that's
have
not
that
gonna
little
happen.
gear. Let me just tap that thing down and just like where I can turn safe search on and off.
Yeah.
Let me set it
I don't
there.
think that's going to happen. But
I can tell you what could happen.
what could happen?
Support from our audience over at patreon.com/today. Help support the Jupiter Broadcasting Network. Let's move that up a few, maybe before Linux Fest Northwest. And man, is it getting crazy up in here? Is it crazy up in here, Noah?
It's nuts.
It's crazy.
It's like hurry up and wait though, because it's like we had so many things to get. Yeah, we had so many things to get done. Then all of a sudden it's like a lull.
Yeah. Although
And
today
now,
you're going to be doing 2 shows.
right, and then and not to mention playing chauffeur for the airport.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alan comes in tonight.
Yep.
And then Blaster tomorrow.
And then
Rotten
on Thursday.
Right. And then Michael
Michael on
Dominic
Friday.
Yeah. And then, so next year we'll do it a little differently.
That's a lot of driving.
Yeah, next year we're going to just say, like, try to arrive at these couple of days and just say, yeah.
Here are the times we'll be at the airport.
Yes,
If
exactly.
you arrive before or after them, you will wait until
Lesson learned. Lesson learned. Lesson learned.
No, it's no big
You'll
deal.
be sleeping in the airport.
Yeah.
If you'd like to help Noah's Gas Bill, patreon.com/today. Actually, that supports all of the shows, not just the Fest and Future Fest, but all of the kind of endeavors that we are undertaking. It lets us stay a little weird so that way we don't have to get too commercial. We can be honest and keep it real to our audience. Literally, it keeps you guys in charge. At least 475 of you, and you get access to the Patreon exclusives that we put up there from time to time on the activity feed. Patreon.com/today is where you go. Any dollar amount would help. Starting at $3 is great, all the way up to the Swag Club. How are we doing on the Swag Club? Oh, we still have a couple of spots left. We have about 20 spots left in the Swag Club.
I don't call it the Swag Club anymore. I call it the Christmas All Year Round Club.
Yeah, stuff.
That's what it feels like
Jupiter
to me.
Broadcasting stuff randomly shows up.
I feel like I'm like, ooh, I got a package, but I did not order anything, and I've spent no money. How did I get this package? And then I open it up, and there's a toy. Boom, right there.
Yeah, it's like and it's funny. It's funny too because what happens is like as Linux Fest comes, we sort of the network sort of goes into like hunker down, and everybody focuses, and all of our attention kind of goes into that. But then when we're done, like we've made all these swag contacts, we have all these ideas. And like then it's really for like the rest of the year we just have ideas for the patrons. It's kind of like great. And we'll have like extra stuff we can send out from time to time. And also if you're going to be at Linux Fest Northwest, we'd love to have you come by and say hi. Just stop and interrupt us if we're doing something, or tune into the live stream. We'll be streaming jblive.tv Saturday and Sunday from Linux Fest Northwest, and I think you guys will enjoy it. Anything else we should touch on before we get out of here, Noah?
I think we covered a ton.
All right, so everything right now, as far as I know, is on schedule for Tech Talk, but I stay flexible with this audience because we are doing a lot of driving around and we have a lot going on. We may miss an episode or two this week. I am planning to be here tomorrow morning. You want to join me tomorrow?
Sure.
If you're not on the road. Jeez Louise, Noah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I might be. Alex is coming in tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we will. But either way, you can check jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar. Help us get some end-of-show clips or stories that you might want to hear us talk about. Go to techtalktoday.reddit.com. jblive.tv, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. Don't forget about that Mumble Room if you want to talk about the stories we're covering. We'd love to have you here. And join us later today for Linux Unplugged at 2 p.m. Pacific. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for being here. I'll leave you with a classic Commodore 64 commercial from 1985, and yeah, I had one of these connected to a black and white television, if I recall. It was pretty bad.
Are you keeping up with